This is one of my more exciting interviews I love to do. Welcome back, Ambassador.
I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I told you we couldn't do Leaders Who Care without one of these best leaders who cares. I mean, geez, I mean,
Well, thank you for caring about leaders who care. So we care for you too.
thank you. That does mean a lot, especially in these times when people really need it. People really
They
need it.
really do. Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I'm working with a group of Black women in ministry. We got a grant, $1 million grant from the Lilly Endowment, and we call it the Real Black Women in Ministry Thrive Initiative to help Black women who are senior mentors and pastors mentor a younger generation, a newer generation, as they come into parish ministry to kind of level out the playing field.
Mhm.
And, they are leaders who care. So I spend a lot of time with them getting ready to take them on a retreat so that there's some self-care time, but they also know that they're loved as they're giving a whole lot out to their communities as community servants.
Man, you start off with a bang. That was great new development. I mean, that's appropriate. Get them like remember if I get to say you were the first female chaplain in New York City, right? Black female
Yes,
chaplain.
totally, of the New York City Police Department. Yeah, for 21 years, and served on the front lines of Ground 11. Excuse me, on the front lines of 9/11 on Ground Zero, and this year is coming up on the 20th anniversary,
It's
and
amazing.
so there's going to be a lot of conversation around, what happened, and we saw what happened in the front of the scenes, but I'll be doing a lot of interviews in terms of what was happening in the background and the people who were survivors and how do we care for them in the aftermath.
So important. So obviously, and I knew this, you're continuing the work, but I didn't even know about this last thing that you updated us on. So that's continuing from your leadership and being a black female chaplain.
Totally, totally. And I'll be telling the story through the eyes of a Black woman chaplain who was at Ground Zero and just kind of what happened that night where race didn't really matter anymore, but it was about faith. We call it Faith in the Rubble. And so I'm working actually on a short docudrama, some reenactments, but also trying to interview some of the survivors. So right now we're looking for funding. We want to make sure that it gets distributed and released to a lot of people, but we just want to make sure the story is told and told wholly from another perspective.
That's so important to get the story out. And it's amazing that it's been 20 years.
It really is. And, when the one pandemic comes up, right after 9/11 was the New Orleans, where the levees broke. And what your mind does is it does what it needs to do to comfort you. And so it kind of buries it. But as soon as another pandemic happens, when that happened in New Orleans, the floodgates literally and figuratively kind of opened up again. And then when we got into this COVID-19 pandemic and they're talking about first responders and frontline, if you've ever been in that position, all of that just, becomes synonymous. And your mind just kind of goes back to this tsunami of an experience that emotionally just took a whole lot of people down.
Yeah, it does stick with you, whether it's 2 minutes to 20 minutes or 20 years. It doesn't go
Exactly.
away. And I had a rabbi speak and told us at one point. He said, when it comes to grief and things like that, he said, it's like if you're standing in the ocean and the waves are coming and you stand up rigid and tall. Generally, what happens is that wave will take you down and twirl you around and everything. So why not just lay down and go with the flow of the wave and let
Mm,
the grief? It's never going to go away 100%, but let the grief
right.
go that way. And I thought it was pretty brilliant, actually.
That is pretty brilliant. Rabbis have great stories. And so I hope to actually be interviewing the only rabbi chaplain that was there as well. So looking to find, survivors and people who are still around who were there on that 9/11 day, but to have those conversations. But rabbis have great stories as they go, but also Baptist preachers do too. So some days we're going to exchange some stories. Yeah.
Well, the moral of what you just said is we're all in this together. We all have great stories. We need to listen to each other's stories and care together.
Very much so. And I think that's what I saw most of all on 9/11. When I arrived at Ground Zero, you had big Irish and Italian firefighters, and black and white, and every persuasion there. But at that moment, it didn't matter whether you were Catholic, Irish, Italian, black, Baptist. It was, how do we come together as one? And we are caring about our city, but I also care about you. So how do we get through this together? And I saw New York in a way I had not seen New York since my childhood.
Yeah, but it does show that we can do it if we want to.
Yes. Yes. And really, there should be a book, Lessons from Ground Zero, because we're in two pandemics now. Certainly COVID-19 or coronavirus, but also there's a racial pandemic going on. And we can walk together. I think, our president's speech was masterful.
Yeah.
And I think that it brought hope again. And I think we want hope in America. This is the America we love, and we're not trying to leave it. So how do we exist together in it so that we can all love it together?
I'm in. We need to listen more to each other, and just recognize that we're all, not to use that cliche again, we're all on the same team, basically.
Very
And
much so.
someone once, I mean, you've probably heard this too. Someone would ask a family, well, you have 2 kids, 3 kids, whatever. Are you going to have more kids? And the answer would be, man, that's going to be so hard to love another one. But it's really, your love expands when you
Exactly.
do that. It doesn't get distributed in a way.
Right, exactly. And once you hold that new baby, everybody just melts. And so I think what we have to do is figure out, how do we hold this new baby, and how do we come together in a way we've never come before. So I'm committed to that. In fact, on my social media this week, I was on Good Morning America. They have this series called Faith Friday.
Mhm.
And so I was able to be on it last Friday and talk, and they asked me to close with an inspirational message. And I said, we have to walk in the light, we have to be the light, we have to shine the light. And so I'm challenging everyone who hears me, take 30 days, the next 30 days, even if you've been a light shiner, a light bearer, do something beyond the ordinary, something extraordinary to make a difference, so light will shine and break up this darkness. And I think that that's going to make the difference. It could be running an errand for a neighbor or someone who's disabled. It could be helping a child, tutoring a child. It could be helping build a business or whatever, but to find something you would do and do it even more. And I think that's what happens when light and light and light is added up. You know what? You have more light. And I think that that's what we want to have, shining stars.
Spotlights like crazy. You got the
Yes.
sun coming at you, basically.
Yes,
So,
yes. And that's
and,
what I want to feel. That's what I
and
want to
what's
feel.
amazing about that, and you certainly know it, is your heart and soul is fulfilled so much more than you can ever imagine by doing that.
Totally. I mean, and it's been scientifically proven that not only endorphins, but dopamines, I believe it is, but all of these chemicals are released in your body, the happy chemicals that are saying, oh, it's not as bad as it seems. It's not as bad as it looks. Let's do this thing together. And so, yeah, I want to do the happy dance.
The happy dance. I'm in
dance.
on the happy dance. When I was a little kid, my grandfather used to take me on walks to the park. And I don't know if I ever told you this, and he would smile at everybody. And I would ask him, do you know all these people? And he says, no, I don't know most of them. But when I smile at them, they smile back. And some of them, they even talk to me. And then we become friends.
Yes,
And that's what you're talking about right there. It's not that complicated.
It really is. My father was very much like that. He would go around the neighborhood. He was Mr. Johnson, and he worked on his smile. And I was in the mirror today. I said, you know what? I'm working on my smile, because a lot of times we have to make sure, particularly those of us in the public eye doing these interviews, are we portraying what we're saying with our words? And a smile just changes the way you feel, your whole being. And so in the midst of COVID, I want people to know, yes, you still can smile and find something good in the midst of this. Things are starting to open back up. People use the word pivot, but my thing is, this is a pivotal time. Find your purpose, and help somebody else clarify someone else's life, so that we can all walk through this life together in a wonderful way.
What do you find in community and business right now that people have started to recognize what's really important, what our values are?
Totally, because you know what? We're not moving so fast. We can't compete against anyone because it's just a matter of who has the biggest computer because we're either all on Zoom or go to meetings or some other app. And so it's taken the competitive element out, which I've liked. And it also has taken the conflictual elements out. So you make a decision in terms of whether you want to have your life cluttered or whether you're going to use this time to declutter. And I've chosen the latter. And I don't miss the frenetic pace that I was traveling to be on a stage in 3 cities away, you know, in an hour trying to get there and then trying to give your speech and then trying to get home and then trying to get dinner on the table. It's like, you know what? This is life and this feels good. So it's about pacing. It's about just decluttering. I call it the DSMOG principles. I've come up with DSMOG. You have to learn to digitize, energize, strategize, monetize, organize, globalize, and glamorize. Don't lose it. That's what this time has done for me.
I'm gonna give it to my son, who just is a rap guy, and see if he can play with that a little bit.
Okay, just tell him to give me some attribution to it and say maybe we can do something together. But that's really where I am. Let's use this time for good and let's do something with it. So it is trademarked. So tell him we can do something together. And I'd love to. Yes.
No, I think that's super cool. Give us a quick update on the Global Black Women's Chamber.
Oh, we are growing by leaps and bounds. And the Global Black Women's Chamber was formed a year ago in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
And now we have 110 Black women business owners. And we're on this journey together. We're collaborating, we're connecting. And what it is to help a Black woman start a business, scale a business, sustain a business so that we can. That's how we pivot. We close this wealth gap, we create generational wealth, and people can get on their feet. So we're teaching women not to ask for the check, but to learn how to write the check. Now, I guess you have to do it electronically, but we want you to be able to be in a position to be able to have the funds that you need, because then you can have the fun you need in your life. That work-life balance. And so all of the organizations, I run 2 nonprofits, Global Black Women and the Black Women in Ministry. And my for-profit business is Charisma Speakers. We provide keynotes and inspiration and casting for people who want to be in the public eye and keynote training. And so I have put all of my business, my whole world is on a school year academic calendar. So we go from September through June. And that helps people take July and August, which on the East Coast are our summer months, which I love, but to relax, to rest, to build your business, to take time to think about what else you want to do with it. Because if we're going frenetically for 12 months nonstop, you actually have what we call compassion fatigue or service fatigue. And what I'm trying to do is help women especially learn that work-life balance. We have a lot on our plate, but if you take a break, you can come back to it refreshed, renewed, and you have a new perspective, what we say, putting new eyes on it. And that's what I want people to do.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And you know, some countries in Europe kind of get that more than we do.
Yes, yes.
Because if we wanted to, we could work 24/7 and just keep going.
Exactly.
But the thing is, we won't keep going because the body's going to tell us.
Exactly. If you don't take a break, you will break down. That's the really simple truth. So they call me Sujay. I'm Sujay and self-care. It begins with the same letter S. Success without self-care is not success. It's actually failure. So you have to have it.
What a perfect way to complete this revisit. You are a star. I mean, you know, worked with presidents, worked with people, you know, we're just excited that you're definitely one of the leaders who care. So thanks for joining us again. And
thank you for having me.
bless.
Have a wonderful evening and thank you.